Earlier this year, we learned that a Jeep had been hacked remotely. A Jeep had been stopped dead in its tracks by a guy with a computer in a long antenna. And it's about time that we realized, particularly in the era when we also discovered that VW was fiddling with software and were cheating on emissions tests, that your car is essentially now a computer with a drivetrain. And that's going to create some really profound consequences for the automobile industry and for cybersecurity, which brings me to item number 3. Cars are starting to drive themselves. This is not just hype, and I know this because I joked for a long time that we have lived for some time, at least the last 5 years, in what I call the era of cold fusion for autonomous vehicles. You know, we've always been like 10 years out from cold fusion. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in 10 years. We're almost there. The research community, they're narrowing the gap. We've always, since the 1950s, been 10 years out from cold fusion. Yeah, that is no longer the case for autonomous vehicles. There are 2 disruptive ways in which this could happen. And I'm not going to weigh in on one or the other. Exactly, there's a debate, I would say, from the federal government as to how autonomous vehicles are going to come to fruition. But one is what we consider sort of the GPS model. It's a luxury product that people will add to their cars, will actually make purchasing decisions on entire cars because of. That will be one way. Another is a world in which increasing safety and security requirements and standards will ultimately lead more and more autonomous features to be available in consumer vehicles. And so you'll wake up one morning, and just like you woke up one morning and everybody had power steering and dynamic stability control, you'll wake up one morning and realize, wow, yeah, actually my car drives itself most of the time. Okay, I'll weigh in a little bit on that theory. If that second theory panned out, everyone would drive a Volvo. So I think there's a little bit to the idea that there is actually a luxury market and a hugely important market is going to drive this from the standpoint of autonomous vehicles being the killer app of cars. And we've actually known this for a really, really long time. The 1939 World's Fair had an exhibit called The Roads of Tomorrow. And at the Roads of Tomorrow, they debuted a model vehicle, this was just a model of it, that had 3 incredible innovations. The first, that it would zoom through the streets at 55 miles an hour. Impossible, they said. Second, that there would be a miniaturized record player in the car to bring your music with you. Impossible. And third, in 1939, they said the car would drive itself. Okay, so we did better on the first 2 than the third. And what we were waiting for all these years was a convergence of big data and the ability to analyze it in a rapid sense, and in sensors that could be brought down cheaply enough to actually have better perception than an individual inside the car. The main unit you've seen, for instance, I'll use Google Car, but there are lots of others out there. If you've seen the Google Car, you know on the top of it has this dome. It's got this techy thing on the top. It looks almost like a radar unit on a yacht. It basically is that. It's a light radar unit. That device, 8 years ago, cost $150,000, and 8 of them were produced every year in the United States. Today, that device, based on which numbers you rely on and which manufacturers ultimately be able to produce at scale, will cost something like $5,000, and there are over 10 producers that are vying right now to make it. That is the commoditization of the technology that will lead to this autonomous revolution, and it's happening at this very moment. So the question is, why do we care about it? Well, we care about it for the following reasons. There are very few technologies. I probably can't think of a technology that can be more disruptive across more verticals that matter to this administration and matter to most Americans than autonomous vehicles. Okay, let's start with this. Every year, more than 20,000 Americans die in an automobile accident. 20,000 Americans. Autonomous vehicles have the opportunity to bring those numbers down tremendously, if not in the long term, eliminate them. $100 billion in medical expenses, primary and secondary, from those accidents. Hour plus of productivity is lost for every American in their average commute. Emissions can be brought down. And most importantly, autonomous vehicles have the opportunity to transform mobility for segments of our population that have been in dire need of it. First, the elderly. We have an aging population, and nowhere can it be more effective than keeping seniors on the road and able to live their lives, even if their vision or other elements aren't safe enough to drive. This can be hugely transformative. For the disabled, for non-car owners, depending on the model. You ever speculate that it seems like car ownership may well be a quaint thing of the past when you consider that the average car spends over 90% of the day sitting in the driveway somewhere, sitting in the parking space somewhere, let alone the 20+% of the surface area of every major American city, which is presently devoted to parking. And that space we can reclaim. And finally, kids. The idea of a soccer mom, to use a phrase, may well be quaint for us in 10 or 15 or 20 years in a world in which we aren't tied to the mobility of others in the same way. So from the federal government standpoint, from the administration, just yesterday, we announced $4 billion of investment. It's going to happen over the next several years in testing and acceleration of this technology because of all the ways that we can see it is positively transformative. We are committed to getting this technology out there, and we are committed to doing everything we can to enable more test beds and more opportunities safely on American roads as quickly as possible. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.